Right, fantastic. Welcome everybody this morning. Oh, Jasper, yeah, slow morning this morning, I see. Getting up and going gradually there. That's all good. Here's Master coming on board, so welcome everybody. This morning, I think, is about focus, Lee. Couldn't focus on the question properly last night, but you will have to, we'll have to see how people's focus is this morning. I trust you're all feeling sharp and focused and zoomed in on your tasks at hand. So, Lee, what's focus all about?
It was, and the only thing I can think when we raise these things is to come back. So what is it? How does it work for me? And then everybody else gets to share their stories because everybody is different, and therefore I think we create this kaleidoscope that each person is maybe able to take a little slice from somebody somewhere along the line that may help. And so when I think about focus, one of the things that I know that I learned how to focus was at the dining room table in my childhood home, because that's where I did my homework. And I was the oldest of four girls. I later on had a much younger brother, but I didn't grow up with him. And so I would be doing my homework. My other younger sister, just younger than me, she would also be sitting doing her homework. My mom was a seamstress. She ran a dressmaking business from home. So she would be at the other end of the dining room table on her sewing machine. And my youngest, she'd probably be doing spelling or reading with my next youngest daughter, and then, sister, and then my baby sister would be playing on the carpet and the radio would be going. And in that environment, I learned to concentrate because there was actually only one desk in the house, and that was the dining room table. So that was the only place I could do my homework. And to this day, it doesn't matter if people are walking past, if the TV's going, or I'm able to keep that level of focus. So that's the one training ground that I got. The other thing that I realized as I started my business is that I needed to do lots of things within a day. And I must be honest with you, I'm a terrible multitasker. So Zoom is taking my multitasking, the necessity to do lots of things at the same time to a whole new level. Just this week, I've had to do Zoom workshops, which I've never really had to do before, but it's letting people in, it's sharing my screen, it's greeting people, it's recording at the same time, it's making sure people are I'm responding in the chats. My brain doesn't work that well with all of those things happening at the same time. So what works best for me is when I focus on one task at a time and then move on to the next. And that is why I work, and I wish I had it in front of me, but I am a firm believer in a paper diary, because every day I sit with my paper diary and I write down everything that I need to do in that day. And then I prioritize what comes first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And usually I have 6 to 7 tasks that I have to complete in that day. And then every now and again, I will, so even though I say I'm not a multitasker, I am a juggler. I've got several businesses or several partners or several projects that are going on at the same time. And I've got clients that I need to deliver projects. And then I've also got risk projects where I'm giving time in order to, as an investment for future development. And so I'm having to marry all the time against deadlines. And so every now and again, I'll do it either on a big flip chart, depending on how much is on my plate, or I'll do it on an A3 or even in a journal. And I'll just write my different projects that I've got, everything that needs to be required for each of those projects. And then I start seeing, what I'm doing at any point in time and what I need to prioritize. Because my greatest fear in all of these things that I'm going to miss a deadline or let something down. So that is my way. For me, as I say, I'm juggling balls or spinning plates. And if I think about spinning plates, I think about it as absolute focus in that moment to keep that plate spinning. But then I let it go and I allow it to keep going without me for a period of time. Then I go to the next one and I keep them, and I'm keeping an eye to see which plates are starting to wobble, and then I go back to that one. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. And I must admit that's been the way I've worked a lot of my business. The pace has increased since my children have grown up. I have fewer children plates. I have fewer home plates that I've got a lot more work plates. What was the other thing that I wanted to say? What sometimes gets lost is, I wanted to say that I'm not afraid to work long hours and hard. So it doesn't, and it's not a sacrifice for me. I actually enjoy it. The only problem is that I get tired. So the biological Lee can't quite keep up with the mental, the things that I want to do. And so I actually do have to be reminded. I'm usually reminded by my husband or my mother, who both live with me, that it's about time I stop. And my greatest safety valve for all the people who live with me and I live with is my walking. So that's, I come back a much better Lee after I've gone for a walk. Everybody's is relieved when I come back. So that's just by way of just saying the kinds of things that I do when it comes to focus and getting things done. And so I'd love to hear from you. What sort of things help you? What sort of things work for you when it comes to focus? That would be great to hear.
Sure, Lee, after that, I'm totally unfocused. I don't know which way to go now. Looking at spinning plates and juggling balls and all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So how does one focus after something like that? I'm really not sure. Okay, Ed, let's get across to you first this morning.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting about Lee saying she was a better person when she comes back from a walk, because I'm a much better person when I come back from a run. And I remember one time when I couldn't run, my secretary said to me, he said, "For God's sake, Edward, go back running, you're impossible to work with." And I went home and my wife said, "For God's sake, Edward, go out running, you're impossible to live with." So I knew then I'd better go running. I don't have a problem meeting deadlines because the deadline focuses you. What I have a problem with is things that don't have a deadline that are important to me, but I can put aside to do other things, and then they get lost. So what I've come up with, along the left-hand side of my desk, I've got a strip of paper with all the hours marked on it in the day. And like Lee, I don't mind working long hours. And then I have little bits of paper, and I write on them the various things that I want to do. And then at the beginning of the day, I lay them out on the line so I know what I've got to do. And if something comes along to disrupt that, I know that, oh, I did the pink bit, which might be, I don't know, a report at 9 o'clock instead of 12 o'clock. So I know that I've got to move things around a bit. And that way, everything gets done that I want to get done, and included in there is my run or my walk. So if something gets in the way, there's a bit of paper, I don't know if you can see the writing, but it does say run on there. So that way I can juggle things, and those spinning plates, I don't get one that gets forgotten about and that falls off the pole, because I just move them around a bit. So that's my sort of, and for me, having something I can look at and move about, make sure nothing gets lost. So that's me. Great,
thanks, Ed. Yeah, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with you folk and your your lists and your bits of paper. It's something I'm really not very good at. So Jasper, I think you're another list and paper man, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, that's the way I see you sometimes.
I'm a little bit of both. I'm also a list and paper man, and my first instinct is to have a piece of paper and write my to-do list at the beginning of the week and gradually work my way through it. But now I've got a friend who keeps kicking me up the backside to become digital and move over to all the wonderful tools that are out there that I can see why they're wonderful, but my instinct still wants to go back to paper. But I think in terms of focus, I was going through a process this week where, you unconsciously, you are starting to take on a load of stuff to do. And normally you can cope with it, but all of a sudden it just makes you hit a depression that you just feel so, it's too much. And when I got to that stage, I said, what is causing this? And I realized in my case, it was on the one hand, I'm busy with the help of Ivan looking at a new thing for me with ClickFunnels, and a lot of work has to go into that, and I'm looking forward to that. So that's the fun project. But I have to get an exam behind me on a subject that I don't necessarily like, but I have to do it for the sake of regulatory compliance. And I've realized this. So normally I'm motivated by the fun thing, and I can get myself focused and organized around the fun project. But in this case, I now know I had to get the negative thing out of the way. I think someone at one stage said, eat the frog. So it's an ugly old frog. But until I've eaten this frog, it drains me emotionally that I don't have the energy to focus on the other things. So since childhood, when I was the eldest and then two sisters, and so my mom involved me there with house tasks, and on a Sunday afternoon, often I would end up having to wash the dishes. Now, fortunately, I love reading, so I then rewarded myself in this ugly task of washing dishes, that if I washed a plate, then I would read a page in a book, and then that would give me the energy to go back and wash the next plate or something like that. And sometimes it can take me 4 or 5 hours to wash the dishes. But so in a similar vein, if I have to study for something, I hate to study so much that I would rather go and work in the garden, which I don't like working, but compared to it, it's a reward. So I find myself with now breaking things down to say, all right, I put this time out and I'm going to study, but I'm giving myself, let's say, 10 pages to learn, and then I will do something else. So that something else is also moving me forward, but it moved me forward in fun projects. So that's my way of just calling muddling through tasks, but it's my way of focus to make sure I come out on the other end.
Great, thanks, Jasper. I think the problem with washing dishes like that is by the time you finish the first batch, the next meal is on, so you're going to start washing all over again. So, yeah, I'm not sure that one would work for me. Right, Stella, let's get across to you this morning.
Morning, everybody. Yes, there's a lot going through my mind as Lee was talking, and Edward and Jasper. I'm also a person that likes to make lists and to tick down a list. But I've realized also about when Lee was talking about deadlines, I think my focus, it feels like I've got too many things to do, and then it feels at the end of the day, but I haven't done anything, because you do a bit here and then you do a bit there. Then I'm a trustee, then I'm a mediator, then I'm a cleaner of the house, you know. So I think I must just go back to basics again, because I remember when I was studying and I didn't have time, and I also used to take a calendar and put it on my wall and say, okay, I'm going to do this, and I stick to that. And deadlines, because I think I'm not setting deadlines for myself now. So it feels like, because there's no one else watching me except myself. So if I don't do it today, I'll do it tomorrow, type of thing. And I need to change that mindset, to really focus, have deadlines of my own, and stick to that. Yeah, and then another thing that I've also realized, for the last 2 weeks, I haven't been walking, and I can now feel that I've got less energy because I'm not doing my daily activities, my physical activities. So Lee, thank you for reminding about the walking. I'm going to start walking again. Yeah, thanks.
You see, the problem with that still is you didn't have it on your list. That's you need a little pink piece of paper like Ed's with walk on it, so then you can get going every morning. Right, Steve, let's get across to you.
Thanks, Ivan. Hello, everyone. You're focused. That's possibly Mpumelelo has it, man. Is he the only one waving at me? That's fine. That's cool. Thanks, Lee. Okay, well, there you go. There's an object lesson in focus for you. There goes my focus as I begin to talk. Focus is something I really, really battle with. And I've tried the whole list thing and to-do lists and diary lists and putting things on the wall. I was discussing with a coachee yesterday. They were talking about how much time they put into creating their to-do lists and how little time they put into actually doing their to-do lists. And I think that's part of the reality of these things is you can gain so much energy in a sense that you're actually doing something with your life by planning it, that you never actually get around to doing it. And so I have jettisoned those ideas of trying to borrow from other people and just echo their ways of doing life and writing lists and all the rest. That just doesn't work for me. I feel incredibly productive while I'm doing it, and then I ignore it pretty much. It's an absolute waste of my time, other than making me feel better about my life. And so I rely on things like the energy that comes from deadlines, approaching deadlines, looming deadlines. Give me 2 hours towards a task and I'll probably give you some of my best work. But don't ask me to work an hour a night over the course of 3 weeks towards something. When my wife was finishing her honors, she worked an hour every night, 6 days a week. And then she got so frustrated with me when I was finishing my honors because I would work 5 hours a night once a month, because that's what worked for me. And so I think I rely on that kind of energy to focus myself. But I do also realize that I miss a little bit of the proactivity in life in just setting things out in front of me. But for now, that's kind of working. But focus is hard. Lee, if I had to grow up working at that table like you did, I would still be in school. I am so easily distractible. But I've also understood that, the schooling system that we go through, I think, tries to conform us into a mindset that not all of us fit. And the idea that you should be able to sit still for 5 hours at a time at a desk and work productively, linear thought, et cetera, is not necessarily true. And I think there's great power in distractibility. And I think you can harness that if you know what it is and you know what it isn't. Anyway, that's a bit of an unfocused ramble. How about that?
Yeah, I must admit I'm with you there, Steve, on deadlines. Deadlines also work pretty well for me most of the time. But talking about schools, I saw a very interesting documentary last night on a little school in Costa Rica, which is completely different in the way it operates, and a completely different community. It's fascinating stuff, what they're doing out there in that little.
Is that the Zac Efron series?
Yeah,
that's well worth watching.
Yeah, it's quite an amazing little thing. So yeah, if you haven't seen it on Netflix, it's a Zac Efron. What's it, Down to Earth? I think it's called, series. Some great stuff in that series. Right, Kevin, let's get across to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm a bit of a pen and paper man myself. I tend to do is I'd put an hour aside of a Sunday evening and put on paper what needs to be done for the week, the essential bits, and then fill in the gaps. It's a moving document. It does change during the week as things happen and things change and things get in the way. But there are certainly movables on that list, and it tends to work. The odd thing gets carried forward a week, but not the essential ones. I noticed that Trevor put up there that there's nothing that you have to do. It's always what you want to do. Well, I agree with most of that. There is the occasional have to that goes on the list. Putting a couple of hours aside for the wife's birthday meal, that sort of thing. Got to be dead if we didn't put that in the calendar. But yeah, generally speaking, it works. As I said, each day there's a bit more to add to it or a bit to tick off. Yeah, it sees me through the week.
Thanks, Kevin. Now, I'm really impressed with all you people in your list because it's something I've never managed to get to work for myself. Mpulela, let's get across to you next.
Yeah, good morning to everyone again. Look, for me, to-do list stresses me like nobody's business. If I have a to-do list and I see it, that's what overwhelms me. The fact that I've done this list and it has all these things that have to be done. So one of the things I do is everything that I start as a task, I open a folder for it on my computer. And I do the work, and wherever it stops there. So next time I open the folder, I'll see where whatever I was doing stopped. So yeah, to-do lists throw me out completely. When it comes to deadlines, definitely I'm able to meet deadlines. That I do get energy out of that. It's all the other work that needs to happen in planning and putting things in place so that you are able to deliver work efficiently to a client. And those things don't necessarily have a deadline where the problem comes in. And so more and more, I'm asking myself whether I have to do all these things. Is it not possible to find other people who are able to do what I need and I do for them what they need based on our strengths? The only challenge that I've had with that is that then how do you get somebody to deliver at the time that you need things delivered, knowing that you're not paying them, but you're paying them in kind. They do something, you do something for them. That's what I've been wondering of late, because I'm really struggling with the idea of having to do all these things I need to do to put the business in place and structure it in such a way that it can even be scalable. So that's where I am about that. I'm just asking myself if that's not another approach that's possible to get things done. But yes, to-do list, absolutely struggle with that. I'm not able to work through a to-do list.
Thanks, Mpulela. I'll tell you what the trick is you find a good juggler and a plate spinner and you make her your CEO of your company and away you go. So right, Solomon, let's get across to you next.
Good morning, everybody. So yeah, I think I was a little bit lost what we're talking about. I thought we were talking about opportunities that you get, but anyway, it looks like you guys are speaking about being focused. So when I've been around teams, I've enjoyed doing the to-do list a lot because everybody needs to be able to do different things so that all of us are able to really come with results. But when I'm on my own, then my diary is the one that really works, that works well. And even though I like putting spaces in between, because I hate sitting in one place for a long time. My concentration span generally has never been able to be long. So yeah, okay, that's my own opinion. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Solomon. Right, Master, let's get across to you.
Yeah, morning. I'm standing in the middle of nowhere, and it's part of me igniting that part of focus. Since I've joined Wisdoms, is one of the ways that I'm trying very hard to get myself focused. I'm a deep thinker. I think a lot and very creative, but some of the things don't get created. You know, you create them in your mind, and they don't see their light into this world. So I think I'm keeping a lot of people disadvantaged because I can think deeply, I can create things, but yeah, look, the day I attempt to do a to-do list, I do things successfully, and within 2-3 days I've thrown that thing away. So maybe Lee will help as to how best can I focus on the to-do list, because I see it working. I read a book, the 5 a.m. Club, and they say in that book, if something doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. So I believe that I've seen that, I've attempted a to-do list, and yeah, the physical part, the running, the walking in the morning, I go for about 2-3 weeks, and then from there I'm off. So yeah, I think as time goes on, I'll get back on track, because there are quite a number of things that one still needs to do, things that still have to achieve. But all my things I have done. They are not finished. They don't. Yeah, I don't get the whole product, but gradually I'm getting there.
Yeah, thanks, Horst. I think you probably echo the sentiments of most of the men on this forum. I'm not sure about the ladies, except for the guys, of course, you write lists. I mean, you know, those guys are just unusual. Right, Jeffrey, let's get across to you.
Yeah, morning, everyone. Yeah, it's kind of listening to you. As you know, with video editing, you know, a task is a task, a project is a project. So, you know, I don't work well on doing more than one project at once. I kind of need to get a production done and it finished. Trying to work on one and then work on another one, that just doesn't work. I kind of get lost. My thought gets lost. You know, because a lot of the time what I do, it's almost like, you know, building a jigsaw puzzle with all these little pieces of film, but you don't have a picture on the box. You've got to kind of make up the picture. So as far as to-do lists go, I have sort of a marketing to-do list, a contact. You know, so I write in my diary. I have one of those old-fashioned books. So, you know, if I'm chatting to you and you say, phone me, you know, in a month's time, I'll flip forward, scribble your name down on, you know, on the correct date. And then in the morning, go through the diary, see who I need to phone. So I do have a certain amount of structure, but from a working point of view, that doesn't really help. It's, if I've got deadlines to do, it's just, yeah, those deadlines can often be quite difficult because it's not, I had a little bit of a deadline last week because I told the guy, look, you'll have it tomorrow. And yes, and I was working until the wee hours and then the brain goes into porridge mode and it doesn't work very well. But eventually you manage to pull it all off and get all the little pieces of films together. But anyway, yeah, so I suppose I have a sort of a unstructured way of doing things, I suppose. And I think that makes any sense either, actually.
Good, thanks, Jeffrey. Right, Nazipa, let's get across to you.
Hi, morning, everyone. I think for me, I also struggle a lot with focus, but I find that when I make a to-do list, it gets better. I mean, I'm still your old-fashioned diary kind of person. Like, yeah, this is literally what I work on a daily. And I find that even the migration into doing it digitally, it stresses me. I mean, you know, Jasper introduced me to Google Keeps, and it's a beautiful tool. but I struggle with checking that every day. It's just so much easier for me to just flip on my diary and see what I need to do. How do I get it done? But also I've now learned, because there's so much that has to be done, I now work best by breaking it down to saying, this is the to-do list, this is how many hours it's going to take for each task, and then I'm able to then work based on what I've done. But I'm also your last minute person. I think somebody mentioned that, you know, they'd rather, like, I'm not a person that's going to take an hour every day to do something because I'm working towards the end. I'm not. Like, I'm currently working on a proposal now that's due tomorrow. That's how I work. And I work best like that. I probably work best under pressure. I'm a person that will literally work through the night, finish off, and then send somebody to go submit whatever it is that has to be done. When I was doing my master's, I had a similar issue as well, because the last minute stuff wasn't going to work because of the amount of time that I needed to put in. But I would literally leave home at about 10 a.m., go sit at the research commons at the library until the next day. Like, I would work I'd probably get there about 11. From 11 a.m. until 2, I promise you, I'm doing nothing. I'm reading just stuff that's not even related to what I'm doing. I'm opening emails, I'm doing stuff. It takes me a long time to get into the zone. But once I get into the zone, then I will work through the night until 10 a.m. the next day when I drive back home to go crash, literally. And that's how I've always worked. That's what works for me. But I struggle also with focusing. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Nozipho. Cecile, I know you said you were sort of multitasking, but if you want to.
Yes, I'll talk. I'm a bit like Lee. When I grew up, we never had desks in our house at all. So sharing a room with my twin sister, we would sit and do homework on our beds next to each other with the music going. So I cannot work when it's quiet. I like music and I like movement around me, but I can focus very, very sharply. Today I can still focus for hours and hours on end. I can sit here at my desk for 8 hours and then I realize, oh my magtig, it's now 4 o'clock already and I haven't had lunch, even if I'm in my own house. I don't, from the nature of my work, everything is short deadlines. There's no long-term deadlines things. It's all short deadlines. Things will come in now. I have to do the quote now, see to the people today or tomorrow, finish that today or tomorrow. So there's no long-term things, unless I've done a quote and it takes a while, but then I also make little lists here and I scratch them off and I have little sticky papers everywhere on my desk. So if something is to stand over to tomorrow, I will just leave a little paper on my desk just to remember to follow up on that if I don't remember that from the top of my head. But I make sure that every day I will fit in my training at the end of the day. Sometimes it's to my husband's dismay. He wants to eat at 6 o'clock and it's I haven't finished working by 6 o'clock, but luckily the karate class is at 5. But if the class is cancelled for some reason, then by 6 o'clock I haven't done any food yet, and then I still have an hour of training. So then it makes me mad when he kind of eats nuts and yogurt before dinner because he's hungry. But I can focus well, and yeah, everything is short-term goals that I've got to do quickly the next day. So yeah, but I can focus very well with lots of stuff happening around me. When I was a squash referee, you know, out of the nature of that, you sit in a crowd of 2,000 people in the middle of all the people, and you've got to focus on the international squash match that's in front of you, and you can't look left or right, but there's a lot of noise and people heckling you, and but you've got to focus on what's in front of you with all the noises and stuff around you. So I cannot understand when people can't work with noises around them. That's just part of my nature.
Great, thanks, Cecile. I'll have to come and see if I can get some of that nature from you, because I struggle when there's noise in my environment when I've got to focus, especially I've got to program or do things like that. Right, Trevor, let's get across to you. Focus, Trevor, focus.
Sorry, I'm online here. Listen, this thing of multitasking and lists, I'm actually trying to look for the list that I actually wrote on Monday of things I wanted to talk to everyone about, but I actually can't find it. So I recommend that everyone gets a little post box for themselves. You can go and buy them from Waste Tech or whatever, put it next to you, and then do what I do. What was I talking about? What's the subject, Lee? So listen, in my head is right now, we've got to stop taking ourselves seriously. I think we've got to tear up everything, all the books, the whole lot, and just start having a little bit of fun. And for me, the fun that I'm looking to have is to focus on 1, 2, 3 projects. 1, 2, 3. 3. Because that's about as far as we can count. And someone once told me you actually can't hold too many thoughts in your head at any one time. In fact, we can only focus on one. So the things that I'm focused on right now is I want to make some coffee just now. So I want to finish this. Then I want to think about the grand summit, the Wisdom's Global Summit that we're doing tomorrow. So I'm going to focus on that. And in the next 60 days, how we're actually going to bring 1,000 exhibitors in place on the virtualtradefair.africa. That's what I'm focused on. So now I'm going to go and see if I can find a place to write a note about it, because someone said we must write a note about it. No, you know what? I want to leave you with a question, Lee. It's something that I thought about, and it is, who right now in this world is having the greatest time right now in this global economy? So who do we think is having the absolute time of their lives right now in this global economy? Because if we can actually assess and analyze for ourselves who we think is having a great time, then we can try and analyze why is it that they're having a great time, and how can we actually apply what it is that they're doing to have a great time. Because yesterday I mentioned the word corruption. I then started talking to all sorts of other people about how do they feel is happening in the, and I just got negativity coming back all the time. Someone must be having a great time. Let's go and find them. Let's go and analyze what it is that they're doing. And let's see if we can do 1, 2, or 3 things of what they're actually doing and get there quickly. I don't want to take, listen, I'm getting older by the second. There's no way that I want to take time trying to look through lists of stuff that I haven't done. I want to get 1, 2, 3 things done tomorrow. Mpumelelo, what's the joke?
Thanks, Trevor. Yeah, great way to end off a session on focus. Absolutely love the focus, Trevor. You know, and you know, the 20 years that I've known you, you know, 1, 2, 3 has always been top of your focus. So keep it simple, keep it short, keep it sweet, and then just get it done. So love that. Right, Lee, I think back to you. What's on the agenda for tomorrow, and where do we go from here?
Well, I don't know, that plate came crashing down. So you know, Solomon and Solomon is right. You know, what actually stimulated this discussion around focus was one of the things that came out of the open mic was, I've got all this stuff coming at me. We're in this environment where things are changing and opportunities are sort of winning their way at me, or I need to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of me so that I can actually get them done and not just get them done, but take advantage of the opportunities. And so I'd like to come back to that because I think it picks up on what Trevor is saying as well, is what are we seeing? What is out there that is attracting us, that is drawing our attention, that is worth us focusing on? And I think that's a different angle to what we've been talking about now. We've been talking about how do I actually get down and do the work that's in front of me. Now we're looking up and saying, as I look at the horizon, what is drawing my attention? And therefore, how can I focus there? Or how long do I focus at particular points on the horizon in order to see this opportunity and to take advantage of it. So it is about looking, it's about paying attention, and it's about the opportunities that are sort of sparking, and are we seeing what we need to be seeing? So I hope that's clear enough in terms of a way forward. I make it up as I go, right? So
Spin those plates, Lee, spin those plates. Yeah.
Just to tell you that one of my tasks, and I don't do it every day, but especially is I don't rely on work coming to me. I only rely on myself going to work. And so one of the things that I do at least 2 or 3 times a week, even if it's just for an hour, is I send out mail saying, hi there, I'm Lee. I've got this, would you be interested in doing this? And that's just a way of, so it's a focus, but it's also looking for opportunities. So it's a both and. You're looking and you're fishing, and that's how I'm fishing all the time. So I don't know, too many analogies. See you tomorrow.
Good. Thanks, Lee. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, tomorrow. And if you haven't signed up for the summit, please do come and join us. You don't have to sit there the whole day if you have challenges with your time, but please pop in. We'll be on from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. But if not that, join us at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning for a short, sharp, focused session. And what's on the horizon, I think, was Lee. But otherwise, have a fantastic day further, and we'll see you tomorrow. Go well.